Stop scrolling. Take a deep breath. And listen to me very carefully. If you have seen the headlines circulating on Facebook and YouTube claiming that Matt Roloff has passed away, or that Caryn Chandler has been handcuffed and dragged away by authorities for a $4 million forgery scheme, you need to know the truth right now. Matt Roloff is alive. Caryn Chandler is not sitting in a jail cell. And this is a massive, the reason these rumors are spreading like wildfire is because the actual situation at Roloff Farms has completely imploded in a way we never saw coming. We are dealing with a classic game of telephone gone wrong. While the internet is screaming about death and prison, the real story is arguably sadder and more complex. We have confirmed that Matt and Caryn have officially split as of July 2025. We have confirmed that Matt is liquidating assets, including selling his Arizona home at a loss. And we have confirmed that the grief the family is feeling isn't over a funeral, but over the total fracture of the family dynasty. Today, we are going to walk through exactly where these death and arrest rumors came from, debunk them with facts, and then deep dive into the real $4 million controversy, the sale of the farm and the breakup that destroyed the dream home. This is the definitive truth. Let's address the elephant in the room. Why do people think Matt Roloff is dead? This rumor didn't appear out of thin air. It grew out of legitimate medical terrifying moments that have plagued Matt for the last 2 years. We have to remember that Matt lives with diastrophic dysplasia, a condition that complicates every surgery and routine procedure. In 2023 and 2024, we watched him undergo a terrifying ordeal with his esophagus. He was hospitalized for what was supposed to be a routine endoscopy, which turned into a potential perforation scare. Caryn herself described the panic in the room. The death rumors likely surged again recently because Matt has been incredibly quiet on social media following the breakup. In the world of reality TV, silence is often misinterpreted as tragedy. Furthermore, Matt did ask for prayers recently, but it wasn't for himself. It was for his father, Ron Roloff, who has been battling serious health issues including blood cancer. Clickbait channels took Pray for the Roloffs and twisted it into R.I.P. Matt. The reality is, Matt is alive, but he is arguably in the most vulnerable physical and emotional state of his life. He is facing his later years alone, without the partner he thought would care for him, and with a body that is becoming increasingly difficult to manage. The tragedy isn't death, the tragedy is the isolation of his survival. Now, let's dissect the most scandalous rumor. Caryn Chandler arrested for a $4 million forgery plot. Where on earth did this come from? Our investigation suggests this is a twisted version of the real financial dispute involving the dream house. Here is the truth. There was no forgery. There were no handcuffs. But there was a massive financial disagreement that likely ended the relationship. Matt and Caryn were building a massive custom home on the farm, a home that was supposed to be their retirement sanctuary. Reports indicate this house cost millions to construct. The crime, if you want to call it that, was a crime of the heart and the wallet. Sources close to the production have hinted that Caryn never wanted to live in that house. She felt it was too close to Amy's old house, too close to the toxicity of the farm. The forgery rumor likely stems from internet speculation about property deeds or NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. When couples split with assets this large, $4 million is the approximate value of the farm property Matt tried to sell. Lawyers get involved. People see legal documents and lawyers and jump to criminal charges. The reality? Caryn didn't go to jail. She went to Arizona. She packed her bags, took her daughter, and moved back to the desert to be closer to her parents, leaving Matt alone in the massive, half-finished mansion he built for a future that no longer exists. The headline mentions $4 million, and that number is significant. It's not a stolen check. It's the price tag Matt put on the farm when he tried to sell it, a move that alienated his twin sons, Zach and Jeremy. This is the core of the family grief. Matt chose the asset over the legacy. He listed the big house for $4 million, refusing to lower the price for his own children. When it didn't sell, he turned it into a short-term rental. The forgery plot clickbait is a metaphorical distortion of what fans feel happened. They feel Matt forged a new narrative that cut his kids out. By overvaluing the farm, He made it impossible for the family to keep it. Now that Caryn is gone, Matt is sitting on a $4 million property that holds nothing but ghosts. He sold his surprise Arizona retirement home at a loss recently, selling for $545,000, which was $20,000 under asking, just to liquidate. This signals financial or emotional distress. He is shedding properties because the dream of a Roloff empire has collapsed. He has the land, but he has no heirs willing to work it and no wife to share it with. The headlines claim Amy crying and family grief. Is Amy crying? Probably, but not for the reasons you think. Amy Roloff has always been the emotional barometer of the show. With Matt and Caryn splitting, Amy is likely feeling a complex mix of relief and sadness. Remember, she warned Matt. She warned him that blowing up the family for a new relationship might leave him lonely in the end. However, the grief is real for the grandkids. Jackson and Lila, Zach's kids, haven't seen much of their grandfather recently due to the feud. The death of the relationship between Matt and his sons is the real death in this story. Zach and Tori have effectively checked out. On their podcast, they discuss their new life, their own projects, and they barely mention the farm. This silence is louder than any screaming match. The family grief is actually family estrangement. They have grieved the loss of the grandfather figure Matt could have been. The clickbait says Matt died. The truth is, to parts of his family, the version of Matt they loved died years ago when he put the for sale sign up. Let's recap the facts to clear your feet of the lies. Matt Roloff is alive. He is battling health issues and a broken heart, but he is still with us. Caryn Chandler is free. She is in Arizona starting over, not in a prison cell. The $4 million plot is a real estate flop. It's about unsold houses and bad business deals, not criminal forgery. The story of the Roloffs right now isn't a crime thriller. It's a Shakespearean tragedy. It's a story about a man who built a kingdom for a family that left, and a queen who abdicated the throne. As we watch Matt navigate this next chapter, likely the final chapter of his public life, we should view it with empathy, not through the lens of fake death hoaxes. What do you think will happen to the farm now that Caryn is gone and the kids aren't interested? Will Matt finally sell it all and move away? Let me know your legitimate theories in the comments below. And please share this video to stop the fake news from spreading. For 19 years, we invited them into our living rooms. We watched them navigate surgeries, dwarfism, high school graduations, weddings, and divorces. We believed that no matter how chaotic the pumpkin season got, or how tense the divorce between Matt and Amy became, the core unit of the Roloff family was unbreakable. We were wrong. Today, the illusion is not just cracked, it is completely shattered. In a revelation that has sent shockwaves through the TLC universe and devastated longtime fans, Zach Roloff, the last remaining child who tried to keep the peace, has officially gone on record to declare that his relationship with his father, Matt Roloff, is non-existent. This isn't just a spat. This isn't a plotline for season 26. This is the end of an era. In a raw, unfiltered episode of his podcast Raising Heights, Zach Roloff dropped the media training and spoke the ugly truth. The farm deal didn't just fail, it destroyed the father-son bond permanently. He used words like narcissism, denial, and toxic to describe the man who once built him a castle. In this exhaustive deep dive, we are going to unpack every single layer of this tragedy. We will analyze the $4 million deal that killed the relationship, the specific quotes from the podcast that Matt Roloff doesn't want you to hear, and the heartbreaking reality that the Roloff grandchildren may grow up strangers to their own grandfather. Grab a snack and settle in, because we are exposing the full, unvarnished history of how the big world finally crushed the little people. Do you understand the magnitude of this split? We have to look at the source. Zach and Tori Roloff have left little people, big world. They are no longer under the contract of TLC editors who soften the blows to keep the show family-friendly. On their podcast, Raising Heights, they are finally free to speak their truth, and the truth is devastating. When asked recently by a fan about the status of his relationship with Matt, Zach didn't offer the usual PR spin. He didn't say, "We're working on it." He didn't say, Family is complicated. He looked directly at the camera, with a look of exhaustion that only a disappointed son can wear, and said, "It's not existent." The phrase, "the ship has sailed," is perhaps the most final thing Zach has ever said. In the podcast, Zach elaborated with a level of psychological insight we haven't seen before. He explicitly labeled the dynamic with his father as narcissism. This is a massive accusation. He explained that after the cameras stopped rolling, he expected some accountability. He expected his father to come to him, perhaps off camera, and say, "I messed up. The farm deal was handled poorly. Let's fix this." Instead, Zach revealed that the denial has only deepened. He stated that people, a clear reference to Matt, are still convincing themselves they did nothing wrong. This refusal to accept reality is what caused Zach to finally put up the wall. He essentially said that re-engaging with his father is pointless because the version of reality Matt lives in is not one Zach is willing to visit anymore. It's not a pause, it's a termination of the relationship to protect his own peace. Tori Roloff, often the fierce protector of her husband, backed him up entirely. She confirmed that there is no relationship there. However, she made a crucial distinction that we need to parse. They are not withholding the grandchildren. Tori clarified that they don't ban Matt from seeing Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, and this is a huge but, they don't facilitate it either. The days of driving to the farm for Sunday dinner are over. If Matt wants to be a grandfather, the onus is on him to make the effort, an effort that, according to Zach's silence on the matter, is rarely being made in a meaningful way. We cannot discuss the estrangement without dissecting the corpse of the farm deal. For years, the central thesis of Little People, Big World was legacy. Matt built that farm for his kids. He said it in Season 1, Season 5, Season 10. This is for the family. But when it came time to actually pass the torch, the family discount evaporated into thin air. We now know, thanks to leaked details and show confirmations, that Matt valued the farm at a staggering $4 million. He treated the sale to his own son not as a succession plan, but as a ruthless real estate transaction. Zach, who had spent his entire life working on that land, who had his wedding there, who was raising his children to respect that dirt, offered what he felt was fair. Reportedly around $1.6 million to $1.8 million, based on what he could afford and what he felt the family price should be. Matt Roloff refused. He reportedly told his son that he wasn't ready to manage the farm and that the offer was insulting. Imagine the humiliation. Zach sat across the table from his father, ready to take on the family legacy, and was told his money wasn't good enough and his competence wasn't high enough. That meeting was the nuclear bomb that detonated the family. Matt chose the potential of a high market sale, which ironically never happened. The house sat on the market for months before becoming a rental, over the certainty of his son living next door. Zach's resentment, as he explained on the podcast, stems from the feeling of being gaslit. Matt tried to spin the narrative on social media, claiming he offered the kids a half-off discount, and they still couldn't take it. Zach famously broke his silence in a rare Instagram comment years ago, calling his dad out for manipulating the narrative. That anger hasn't faded. It has calcified. Zach realized that to Matt, the farm was an asset on a balance sheet, but to Zach, it was supposed to be a birthright. When Matt listed the farm for strangers to buy, he wasn't just selling a house. He was selling Zach's childhood and telling him, "You are not the heir I want." The tragedy of the situation is highlighted by how well Zach and Tori are doing without Matt. They moved to Battleground, Washington, an hour away from the drama. They bought their own land. They built their own shop. They are creating their own legacy. In the podcast, Zach mentions that the farm brings up resentment and old wounds. Why would he take his children back to a place that represents his greatest rejection? By moving away, Zach reclaimed his power. Matt Roloff often used the farm as a control mechanism. Come help with pumpkin season, come fix the mule, come film here. By physically removing his family from the ecosystem of the farm, Zach cut the strings. He proved he could build a life without his father's money or his father's land. But this independence came at a cost. The podcast reveals a sadness in Zach's voice. He wanted his kids to run through the castle and play in the pirate ship. But he realized that the cost of admission to the farm was submitting to Matt's control and narcissism, a price he was no longer willing to pay. The battleground house is a symbol of their freedom, but it is also a monument to the failure of the Roloff succession. So, where is Matt in all of this? While Zach is dropping truth bombs on podcasts, Matt is posting photos of the one child who hasn't left, Jacob. It is a harsh reality that Matt seems to have replaced the twins, Zach and Jeremy, with Jacob, who now works on the farm. Matt's public statements are always carefully curated. He expresses disappointment. He says he hopes time heals all wounds. But as Zach pointed out, time does nothing if behaviors don't change. Matt's hope for reconciliation feels empty when viewed against the backdrop of his actions. He is currently spending more time in Arizona with Caryn Chandler. He is liquidating assets. He is moving on. The sad truth that Zach has accepted and that fans must now accept is that there is no Hollywood ending coming. The series finale of Little People, Big World wasn't a celebration. It was a funeral for the family unit. Zach Roloff has declared the relationship dead because he finally realized he cannot have a healthy relationship with a father who values property over people. The ship has sailed. The bridge is burned. And the farm is just a rental property now. Zach Roloff has broken the cycle of dysfunction by walking away, and while it breaks our hearts as viewers, it might just be the thing that saves his own family. What do you think? Is Zach right to cut ties? Or should he try one more time for the sake of the grandkids? It is the moment that stops your heart. You are a parent. You look away for 5 seconds. You leave the house for 5 minutes. And then the phone rings. For Zach and Tori Roloff, who have spent the last decade navigating the complexities of raising 3 children with achondroplasia under the microscope of reality television, medical emergencies are, unfortunately, a language they speak fluently. We have watched them endure leg surgeries, terrifying sleep apnea diagnoses, and Zach's own life-threatening brain surgery shunt revision just last year. We hoped, that 2024 and 2025 would be their years of peace. But in a recent, emotionally raw episode of their podcast Raising Heights, the couple stripped away the polished Instagram filters to detail a freak accident that shattered their quiet afternoon and sent them rushing to the hospital yet again. This wasn't a planned surgery. This wasn't a routine checkup. This was, in their own words, a bloodbath caused by a sudden, catastrophic malfunction of a child's toy that should have been safe. And if that wasn't enough, just weeks later, another accident sent their eldest son, Jackson, to the ER for staples in his head. Today, we are doing a complete deep dive into the Roloff family's recent medical nightmares. We are breaking down exactly what happened with Josiah's Jeep accident that has Zach talking about potential lawsuits. We are analyzing the separate incident with Jackson that tested Tori's trauma response. And we are going to have a serious conversation about the unique medical anxiety that comes with raising high-risk children when the cameras are finally off. This is the full story of the accident you didn't see on TLC. Let's start with the incident that generated the headline, the freak accident involving 2-year-old Josiah Roloff. The setting was the family's expansive property in Washington. Tori had just left the house to take Jackson to a baseball game, a routine divide-and-conquer parenting moment. Zach was home watching the younger two, Lila and Josiah. The kids were playing outside, enjoying the freedom of their land, specifically riding in a battery-powered ride-on Jeep. These toys are staples of American childhood. They are heavy, slow-moving, and generally considered safe. But 5 minutes after Tori drove away, her phone rang. It was Zach. Now, Zach Roloff is known for being the calm one. He is the logic to Tori's emotion. But when she answered that FaceTime call, the image on the screen was a mother's worst nightmare. Tori described seeing Josiah's forehead cut open with blood racing down his face. In the podcast, she didn't mince words. She called it a bloodbath. Head wounds, as any medical professional will tell you, bleed profusely. For a toddler like Josiah, seeing that much red is instantly traumatizing for everyone involved. So, what happened? Was it reckless driving? Was it a lack of supervision? No. It was a mechanical failure. According to Zach, Josiah was riding in the Jeep when he suddenly tumbled out. The vehicle didn't flip, he fell. But he was strapped in, or so they thought. Zach revealed a shocking detail. The seatbelt mechanism itself had failed. The buckle was still clicked together, but the point where the belt anchored to the frame of the Jeep had snapped or disconnected. Essentially, the safety device became useless at the exact moment it was needed. Josiah fell, hitting the gravel hard, slicing his forehead open. This is where the story takes a turn from parenting mishap to potential legal battle. On the podcast, Zach explicitly mentioned, "I feel like there might be some sort of lawsuit there." And he might be right. If a safety restraint fails on a children's product, that is a massive liability issue. Tori noted that looking at the mechanism after the crash, she realized how flimsy the connection was, saying, "This is so unsafe." This accident highlights a terrifying reality. Sometimes, even when you do everything right, buckle them in, supervise them, the equipment fails you. If the Josiah incident wasn't enough stress for 1 month, the universe decided to test the Roloffs again. Shortly after the Jeep fiasco, the family faced another rush to urgent care, this time for their eldest, Jackson. The scene was different. They were indoors. The family was playing a casual game of indoor soccer in their spacious entryway. It's a scene playing out in millions of homes. Socks on hardwood floors, laughter, a ball bouncing off the walls. Jackson, being the competitive athlete he is, went hard for the ball. He slipped on a rug. In a split second, momentum carried him into a chair. But not just the cushion. He hit the exposed wood frame of the chair. Zach described the injury as a split in the back of Jackson's head. Once again, there was blood. Once again, there was panic. But this incident revealed something fascinating about the family dynamic. Tori admitted that in the past, she would have panicked. She would have gasped, cried, and transferred that fear to Jackson. But this time, she went into mom mode. They rushed Jackson to urgent care. The diagnosis? A deep laceration requiring staples. Now, pause for a moment. Staples in the head of a 7-year-old is a significant procedure. It hurts. It's scary. But Jackson Roloff, a child who has already undergone bowing leg surgeries that involved breaking his bones, was described as an absolute trooper. He didn't cry until the staple gun actually clicked. Zach pointed out a moment of dark humor in the chaos. 0 children went to urgent care when you, Tori, were gone, but when you're here. It's the classic parenting joke, but it underscores the exhaustion they are feeling. They can't catch a break. We need to add context here that the average viewer might miss. Why is a head injury so much scarier for the Roloff children? All 3 children, Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, have achondroplasia. This form of dwarfism affects bone growth, but it also has specific implications for the head and spine. Children with achondroplasia often have a larger head circumference, macrocephaly, and can be prone to compression at the base of the skull, foramen magnum stenosis. While a cut forehead is a soft tissue injury, any impact to the head carries a higher weight of anxiety for dwarf parents. They are constantly monitoring for signs of neurological distress. Remember, Zach himself has a shunt in his brain to drain excess fluid, a shunt that failed last year and almost killed him. When Josiah hits his head on gravel, or Jackson hits his head on a chair, Zach and Tori aren't just worried about a scar. In the back of their minds, they are terrified of spinal compression or shunt issues, if the kids were to need them. The stakes are simply higher. Every fall feels like a gamble. In the aftermath of sharing these stories, Zach and Tori opened up about the guilt. Tori mentioned that once she saw the broken seatbelt, her brain screamed, "This is so unsafe," followed immediately by the guilt of having put him in it. This is the parenting pit they discuss on their podcast. When you are public figures, accidents aren't just accidents. They are ammunition for critics. By sharing this story, they open themselves up to the perfect parents of the internet who will claim they should have inspected the seatbelt bolts before every ride, but their transparency is actually a service. By admitting that freak accidents happen even when you are vigilant, they normalize the trauma of the ER trip. They spoke candidly about the hangover after the adrenaline wears off, that feeling of exhaustion where you just want to wrap your kids in bubble wrap. Zach's anger at the manufacturer is a displacement of that fear. He wants to protect his son, and since he couldn't stop the fall, he wants to hold the Jeep accountable. It is a deeply human reaction, so what is the takeaway? Josiah is healing. The cut on his forehead will likely fade into a faint scar, a boyhood badge of honor, as some might say. Jackson got his ice cream after the Staples and was back to being a tough older brother by the next morning. But for Zach and Tori, these weeks serve as a brutal reminder of the fragility of the life they are building. They have left the drama of the TV show behind, but they cannot leave behind the drama of raising three rambunctious, high-risk children. The freak accident wasn't just about a broken seatbelt. It was a test of their new life without the cameras. There was no production crew to call a medic. There was no producer to drive them to the ER. It was just them. And despite the blood, the panic, and the Staples, they handled it. We wish Josiah and Jackson a speedy recovery, and frankly, we hope the Roloffs have a very boring, accident-free rest of the year. What do you think about the seatbelt failure? Should Zach pursue that lawsuit? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've ever had a freak accident scare with your kids, share your story. This is a safe space. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the reality behind the reality TV stars.